Right, okay, let's get this over with. It's taken me a couple of days, obviously, because I've been, drowning my sorrows for that entire time. But yeah, England have been beaten. England have been knocked out of Euro 2016. Can't say I'm surprised. But Iceland, really? I was sitting here. I remember about a week ago, however long it was, celebrating Iceland's last-minute winner against Austria because it meant that we didn't have to play Portugal, and that we would get Iceland, an easy draw in the next round. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this. Like, man for man, I can only think of maybe one Iceland player that, on reputation, would get into this England team, and yet every single one of them was better than every single one of us in this game. And it's just beyond belief at this point. I mean, my entire life, the first tournament I remember is the 2002 World Cup, got beat in the quarterfinals by Brazil, and to be honest, that's about as good as it's ever been. Getting beat by Brazil, who went on to win the tournament in the quarterfinals, is about as good of a performance in a major tournament as I've ever seen England have, and that was 14 years ago. Knocked out on penalties in 04 and in 06, both by Portugal. Didn't even qualify for 2008, which is possibly the biggest travesty in English football history, which is why I'm not going to call this whole Iceland situation the biggest embarrassment in football history, because I still think Steve McLaren and his wanker umbrella take that. But then annihilated in the second round by Germany in 2010, obviously. Circumstances there were a bit dodgy, but when aren't they? Played off the park by Italy, lucky to lose on penalties in 2012, knocked out in the group stages in 2014, beaten by a country who have about, I don't know, maybe a pool of 20 to 30,000 able-bodied men in the age range to play football. I'm speechless, I don't even know where to begin, because it's not just the fact that we got beat. Going into this game, I had a feeling that Iceland were going to be a very tough team to break down, and England in this tournament have had a lot of trouble breaking down teams that are tough to break down, and I was not surprised to see that we had that trouble again. But the big difference here was that our defence finally got found out less than 2 minutes after we took the lead. Oh yeah, don't forget, we took the lead in the 4th minute, a penalty. I'm sitting here, kick back, open a beer, watch the goal go in. I'm thinking, right, lovely, this is going to be a really nice, relaxing 90 minutes. Less than what was it, 2 minutes later? We get found out by the most Sunday League goal I've ever seen. Long throw in. Eric Dyer loses his first header, getting shoved off of it like the boy he is. And then Kyle Walker loses his man. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what the fuck do we pay you for? This man, Ragnar Sigurdsson, who does he play for? I've never heard of him. I'm not saying that means he's not a good footballer. He clearly is better than all of our shite, but he wanted it so much more than Kyle Walker, who has been fantastic in this tournament, and then that. And as soon as that one went in, even with it at 1-1, I thought this is just going to be one of those days. And then Joe Hart, I mean, I was sort of joking about it after the Russia game and after the Wales game with the Bale mistake. But I really am starting to think that the number 1 shirt of England is cursed, because he is yet another great goalkeeper who has been absolutely shocking at a major tournament. Now, I'm not going to claim that Scott Carson and Rob Green are great goalkeepers. I think we went through a period after Paul Robinson retired, also based on a mistake he made in a European Championship qualifier. We went through a period where we didn't really have a decent goalkeeper, so we had to make do with what we had. And then Joe Hart came along right after the 2010 World Cup, replaced Rob Green and David James, and we're thinking, right, we finally got a decent keeper, but what the hell? He came out and he had the audacity to say that he's not had anything to do in this tournament. He faced 5 shots before this Iceland game and let in 4 goals. Obviously, later on in the game, he faced a few more shots. The thing that really baffles me is that in the second half, when we're 2-1 down, because in the first half, even after we went 2-1 down, we had a couple of decent opportunities. Dele Alli, Harry Kane had volleys that were saved, or Dele Alli's went over the bar, and you sort of thought, okay, we'll be alright. But after that second one went in, the belief just faded out of the team. And it really is a mental thing, because these are good footballers. Wayne Rooney, fantastic footballer. Absolutely shocking on Monday. Our entire back line, shocking. couldn't put a pass together, couldn't play the ball out the back. Joe Hart, playing like a Sunday league keeper. And then where was the inspiration from up front? Harry Kane, hopeless again. Why did they recall him? Why did they put Harry Kane back in the team? He's been shite this whole tournament, and they benched Jamie Vardy and put him in the team. And then the last thing, the thing that really rankles me, Marcus Rashford, okay? He completed 4 take-ons in the game, and that is more than any other player on the pitch. He was on the field for 5 fucking minutes. In 5 minutes, he did more than the rest of the England squad put together. And you're telling me that Roy Hodgson couldn't have wised up and put him on earlier when we were 2-1 down for the whole second half? I would have stuck him on in the 60th minute, let alone the 85th. And he was stood up, he was stripped and ready to come on in the 75th minute. And what on earth did Roy Hodgson see that made him think, nah, we'll be alright? It is just baffling, and I'm so glad that Roy Hodgson resigned. And it just goes to show that 4 years ago, when they appointed Roy Hodgson, they made a mistake. And to be honest, they were saying so at the time. The media had a lot of doubts. He then went to the tournament and did all right, but that was with somebody else's team. Since he has come in, he has overseen 2 of the most dismal tournament failures England have ever seen. And that is saying something, because England are professional failures. Oh, God, and you just wonder where we go from here, because the biggest issue I have with this is that this was supposed to be the first tournament of the new era. It was a first tournament for Dele Alli, Eric Dyer, Danny Rose, Jamie Vardy, Harry Kane, the list goes on. So many players who had never really who didn't have the baggage that players like Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard, Terry, Ferdinand did. The stuff that stopped them and inhibited them from fulfilling their potential for the England squad. They were haunted by all of these tournament failures. And the point was going to be that this tournament, we weren't going to win it, but we were going to play some good football, make it to the quarterfinals, and then maybe lose to a decent team. And the path was there. If we had gone through and beaten Iceland 2 or 3-0, the pressure would have been off. All the pressure would have been off, because we'd have gone into this France game, the second favourite team. We would have tried to give it a good go, and if we'd got beaten by the odd goal, or even on penalties, I would have sat here and said, you know what, well done lads, decent tournament. But now it's just all of these players who are going to make the spine of this England team for the next decade. They all have this baggage, and it just makes me think that that's another generation of England talent that is going to be wasted by the fact that they're weak mentally. And we've got to change it, and we've been saying it for so long, and I wonder what the FA is playing at. Like, why does it take so... Why do they keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect something different to happen? It's insane. It's the definition of insanity. And it's just so tiring, and it's just so emotionally exhausting and frustrating to be an England fan, because every couple of years, I was saying it before the tournament started, you start off thinking, right, fuck the England team, we've just gone out the World Cup in the group stages, sod them, I don't care. Then they breeze through qualifying, bring through some young talent, and all of a sudden, in spite of your better instincts, you're hopeful again. And that was me. I fell into it as well. I was thinking, you know what, we're not going to win it, but we're going to do all right. And then, right, here we are again, back to square one. And it's always such a long road back. 2 years until Russia, and we don't even know if we'll get to Russia, but to be honest, let's be serious. We're going to go and win every game in qualifying again. We're going to bring in some new manager who's not going to be that good, but is going to be made to look very good by a weak qualifying group and a bunch of players who play well when the pressure isn't on, and then we're going to get to Russia and the same bloody thing's going to happen. And it's just really, really disappointing that a team that has probably the best backing in terms of numbers and in terms of how many people in England and around the world who support England really care. Really, really care. I cared more about this England tournament than I did about a lot of United games this season, because, and bear with me here, I was born in 1995. I've grown up with United winning trophy after trophy. I've seen them win the Champions League. I've seen them win the Premier League I don't know how many times. I've seen them win everything that they could possibly win, and they've always been decent, even in a year where they've been bad. Like even this year when we finished 5th, we were decent. We weren't great, trust me, we were not great, but we were 5th out of a league of 20 teams. You can't call that a bad performance. I want England's success so much more than I want success anywhere else, because that is where I've never had it before. I've never even seen us get to a semi-final. And that is just abominable for a team with the talents that we've had through the years. How is it that we've never even got to the semi-final of a major tournament? Greece have won a major tournament in my lifetime. Greece have won one. Spain have won 3 consecutive tournaments and then got knocked out of the World Cup group stage, got knocked out this time. At least they've won the 3 consecutive tournaments, and it's just, I'm going on a bit here, but it's just so baffling. Where do they find these blokes who come in and think they know what they're doing and just do the same thing? It's a bit like the presidential election. You keep voting in someone who is born out of this broken system, and you're going to get the same results. We need someone new. We need someone fresh, someone who's not jaded by years and years of England failure. I mean, I would have loved to see Brendan Rodgers take the job, but he's buggered off to Scotland to manage Celtic, so there's that gone. They're talking about Gareth Southgate. Are you fucking joking? He's had one proper manager's job in his entire life, and he got Middlesbrough relegated. They've only just now come back to the Premier League after that. Gary Neville? You're having a laugh. You're having a fucking laugh if you think Gary Neville is going to be a decent England manager. He's had one managerial job. He almost got Valencia relegated. Now, it's all doom and gloom. It always is right after England go out of a tournament. And it's one of those things where you just want to move on and say, right, fuck it, let's bring on the next season. But it is just so disappointing that yet another generation of England players has now got the emotional baggage, has now got the baggage of a tournament failure, because that plays on their minds. I don't think players like Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, David Beckham never recovered from 98. He never did. Gerrard kept trying, kept putting his best foot forward, but never turned up at a major tournament, never found out a way to play with Frank Lampard. John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, that back line, could have been one of the best England had ever seen, and hopeless, absolutely hopeless at major tournaments. And it is a change in the culture of English football that we need. We need to do what the Italians do. The Italians, right, this year, they have got possibly the least star-studded Italian team I've ever seen. In all my life, I've never seen an Italian team that is less star-studded than the one they've got now. They've just knocked Spain out. I'd fancy them to win the whole damn tournament. And do you know why? It's because they have got a system that they implement with these players from a very, very young age. They say, we are Italians, this is how we play football. And as long as you have players who know their system, just like the Iceland players in the 4-4-2 on Monday, as long as you have players who know their system, know their jobs, and are willing to die for the shirt, you will always find good performances. You will always find some measure of satisfaction from watching them play. But when you've got a bunch of overplayed twats like the England squad, who are groomed from as soon as they score a decent goal in the Premier League, they're the next big thing. Dele Alli, Harry Kane, they're the next big thing, They get groomed and they get told that they're fantastic, and when it comes tournament time, when they actually have to deliver, they're caught holding their dicks. And it's got to change. We need a manager, and we need a system put in place, not just for the senior squad, for the under-21s, for the under-18s, for the under-17s, for everything. Every player who ever wears an England shirt, whether it is for the senior team, all the way back to I don't even know what the earliest phase of the under-16s. We need to say, we are England, this is how we play. And I don't necessarily care what that system is, as long as everybody knows what it is, everybody knows how to play it, everyone knows how to work with each other, and we create a team ethic. Because then we will go through periods where we don't have the best players. I would say that the last couple of tournaments we went through one of those transition periods where we had a lot of older players who were past their prime and a lot of young players who weren't good enough yet, and we still made the quarterfinals of the Euros. And now it looks like we've got a solid generation of young players coming through in Dele Alli, Harry Kane, Ross Barkley, John Stones, Eric Dyer, the list goes on. We have the makings of a great team there, but we need to sort them out, and we need to get them all together and say, right, this is what we do when we play for England, and we need to get them playing together in that way. We need that camaraderie, and we need them to understand each other, and we need them to fight for each other, because that's something that no England player looked like they wanted to do. Every time a pass would go out of play, every time a shot would go wide, they would just sort of look up and go, as if they were sitting there in that moment, with half an hour still left to play, thinking about the headlines the next morning. They were sitting there thinking, oh God, that's my neck on the line, oh shit. It's so selfish. and it's one of those things that we need to eradicate from our footballing culture. I don't know the best way of doing it. We've got Gareth Southgate at under 21 level. I think we should leave him there. I think he's doing all right there, and the importance of an under 21s manager cannot be overstated. We need someone there who can get players ready for the senior team, and if he and whoever the senior manager ends up being, Tim Sherwood, I don't know, anyone, as long as they are on the same page and they start bringing players through in a system that is going to benefit England, maybe in 10 years we'll do something. But it's just, you lose a lot of hope when things like this happen, and hope is the worst thing you can lose, especially as a football fan. And mark my words, 2 years' time when the World Cup rolls around, assuming England have qualified, I'll be sitting here talking up our chances because Dele Alli, Harry Kane, Sterling, all of these players will be 2 years older, 2 years wiser, 2 years better off than they were this year. But I need to remind myself not to get my hopes up ever again. If you've enjoyed the video, you're probably not an England fan. But thank you anyway. Like it, comment if you want to weigh in on anything I've just said. But yeah, no, this will probably be the last video I post on this channel. Once the new season starts up again, I'm probably going to start a new channel for the MU review specifically. And I'll think about maybe doing some England reviews if I feel like it. But probably not after this shit show. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good one.